because I don't know a lot about it, one of the things that I tend to do is I try my best to walk in the shoes of the customer. And because I feel it's really important in order for me to understand what it's like, you know, what the customer's dealing with, what you guys are dealing with in trying to provide care. And so, for instance, when I was helping to lead the rollout of quality improvement at university hospitals, and we were focusing all of our attention on cardiac surgery, I got myself admitted for open heart surgery. I didn't let them cut me, but I did everything else. I laid in a bed for 4 hours with my legs straight to feel what it would be like to recover from a cardiac cath. You know, I went down on the gurney to my cath. I went and things like that. And that kind of experience is for me, is so incredible. I remember that, you know, I'd probably been through University Hospital's admissions department 400 times, 500 times in my career, because I've been at Wisconsin since I got my PhD. But this is the first time I'd gone through as a patient to be admitted. As it turns out, the admissions department is right in the center of the lobby at University Hospital. That's why I've been through it so often. So I walk in to be admitted, and I realize that all of the carols where the admission processes have taken place are filled. And so I look for a place to sit. Well, the only place I can sit is probably the length of from here to Susan over there. I mean, a long distance, and in between of these people walking in to the hospital. So I have one of two choices. You know, I can either sit in a chair. There wasn't any number to take or anything like that, and wait for my turn, whatever that meant. Or I could parade like a Buckingham Palace guard in front of the carols. And of course, as a type A engineer, what would you expect I'd do, right? So they told me to go get my EKG. And I didn't think anything of it. I just walked over to the EKG place. And the nurse tells me, she says, you know, nowhere in university hospitals do we have a sign that says EKG. And I said, really? She says, yeah. I can tell you why I know. She says, time after time, patients are coming up and knocking on my door and saying, excuse me, can you tell me where the EKG place is? And I said, well, what do you mean? It's all over. She says, no, the signs all say electrocardiogram. They told me to go get my x-ray. And so I walked into the place where the x-rays are taken. Now, x-ray departments at university hospitals have two waiting rooms. One where you wait with your clothes on, one where you wait with your clothes off, right? And all that cute gown with the... And so I'm sitting there in this waiting room with my gown. Well, we take care of patients in university hospitals, obviously, but some of those patients are prisoners. You can tell them because they walk like this, and they're in green. And so I'm sitting in this waiting room, and it's dark, and it's long, and it's narrow. And in come two prisoners, and one sits here, and one sits right here next to me. And I write, I'm going to die. The prison guard is way the hell and gone down in the other end of the room reading Field and Stream. So, you know, I could go on and on. Out of that experience came 11 pages of ideas for improvement that literally transformed the way in which cardiac surgery, many of those processes were delivered. Not because I went through it, but because we had nurses and doctors and other people all the way along the line telling me how we could make things better. And so it was an amazing experience. So when I got into the substance abuse treatment, I got myself admitted for heroin addiction. Now, I've never been close to the stuff as far as I know, and so it was quite an experience. Actually, I went through it in 3 different agencies, and I can't tell you how, you know, I mean, they were just perfect examples of the rest of you. I mean, they're caring people. They were willing to give of their time. They were just so patient with me. I remember as I tried to create my persona in my first intake, you know, the intake person said, well, why are you here? And I said, well, my wife threw me out of the house. How come she did that? Well, I lost my job. Why'd you lose your job? Well, I've been shooting up heroin. She said, well, how much? Only on weekends. And she said, for how long? I said, 30 years. She says, no, you don't shoot up for 30 years and just shoot up on weekends. You have to change your... And so I had to modify my persona a bit as I went through this. But one of the things that happened during this process was that I spent 2 hours in the intake room. and being interviewed by her and asked a series of questions. And then at the end she said, well, you need to be admitted, but we don't have a bed. And so what I need to have you do is I need to have you call back once a week and tell us whether you're still interested. I can't promise you that waiting is going to move you up the food chain, because somebody else might come in who needs care more than you do. So I can't promise that waiting will do you any good, but you have to call. And so first week I called and I got an answering machine. And honest folks, this is what it said. Leave a message. That's it. No name, nothing else. A week later I called, leave a message. A week later, leave a message. 6 weeks, leave a message. And I know I've learned since then that part of this is because you have so few beds and you are so limited on the resources that you have available to you that you have to make sure that your patients really need the care. But for me, the experience was really pretty awful. Even though I wasn't addicted or anything like that, the leave a message made me feel so lonesome, so isolated. No feedback, no idea of how I was doing it, no idea of where I was going.